It's Sunday, which means it's recap time here on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast. The theme this week was 5 expensive things I bought last year in 2024 that were worth the splurge. In case you missed any of the episodes, here's what I talked about. I talked about new teeth. I got some new crowns and veneers. That was very expensive. Maybe the most expensive thing I bought this year, actually. Probably by a long shot, actually. I think so. Why that was worth it. I talked about the thing I promised myself I would never buy, but I did anyways, and that was a first-class plane ticket. I talked about my long overdue splurge, which was a new set of golf clubs. And I talked about 2 somewhat expensive handbags. That's all relative because you can spend thousands of dollars easily on designer name brand handbags. I spent a few $100s on 2 different handbags, and I would say it's well worth it. And I talked importantly, not just the items themselves, but the values and the reasoning and the why behind it. So I have a certain value system actually when it comes to buying shoes, clothes, accessories, jewelry, purses. And so I try to adhere to that as much as possible. As much as I want a Louis Vuitton bag or some Gucci or Chanel, because those are beautiful. I see people with those handbags all the time and I'm like, oh, I love that bag. And then I have to stop myself and say, nope, not for me. And I explained in that episode what the value system was that was driving that. That is not a judgment on anybody who likes those things. Not at all. It's just my personal values. I can't justify the cost of spending a few $1,000s on a handbag, a few $100s. Okay. But even that's pretty expensive. And I talked about why that is, along with everything else. Why, what are the value drivers? Why is this something that is worth the splurge? Because if it's worth the splurge, it has to meet a 2-part test. One is you have to have the money to buy it. If you're going to go into debt, if you're going to drain your bank account, if the money can better be used on something else that you're not going to be able to buy instead, or if you're not meeting other basic financial goals, like you're not saving enough for retirement, maybe you're not saving at all for your kids' college, or, so it's not always easy. There's a lot of gray area. That's why I never run out of things to talk about on this podcast, because making spending and saving decisions is not an easy thing. But if you can't afford it, don't buy it. And if it doesn't fit within your values, don't buy it, especially if it's expensive. Now, it's exhausting to go through this sort of 2-part test every single time you make any purchase, but you really want to do it every time you buy something expensive because that money is leaving. It's never coming back. And you want to make sure that what you spent your money on could not be used for a better purpose on something else. Does it add value to your life? And so in order to do that, you have to know what you value. A lot of people don't think about this. What do I value when it comes to, especially when it comes to spending money, lifestyle decisions? I talked throughout the week on certain values that I have and why that drives spending in a certain area or not spending on something. That to me, I think is the biggest takeaway is make sure you know what your values are and make sure if you're going to buy something expensive, it's only going to be worth the splurge if it meets that 2-part test of affordability and fitting in with those values. All right, tomorrow I'm starting a brand new theme. I'm talking about what I'm reading right now. I've been saving some articles and things I've read that I think are relevant and useful for the podcast and for you listening. But they're not a broad enough, big enough topic to cover in an entire week. So I'll go over a few things that I'm reading right now, some insights, some things that I've learned, and hopefully you can learn too that will help you in your journey, financial journey in 2025. Thank you so much for listening this week. If you are enjoying the podcast, please share the show. Wherever you're listening, subscribe or follow if you haven't already. If you're interested in learning more about working with me, you can check out my website, truenorthra.com. There's a button in the top right corner. You can book a call with yours truly. Talk to me about anything on your mind related to finances for 15 minutes for free, no strings attached. Thank you so much for sharing the love and for listening this week. I hope you have a blessed Sunday. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.